Room next to mine. Chapter 3, Quiet Currents. Jack stared into his mug, the tea swirling slowly like it held answers he didn't want to face. The kitchen was quiet except for the soft hum of the fridge, but something in the air felt alive, charged in a way that made him restless. He shifted in his chair, his shoulders tight, trying to ignore the memory of James leaning on him the night before. That quiet moment, the weight of James's head resting against his shoulder, was stuck in his mind like a stubborn echo. He told himself it was nothing. Blokes leaned on each other all the time. After a rough night, you just showed up for your mate. It was what anyone would do. So why did it feel like more than that? The faint creak of the floor pulled him out of his thoughts. James was moving around the kitchen with that easy, unhurried gait of his, still in yesterday's hoodie, sleeves pushed up as he made himself a coffee. There was a quietness to him this morning that Jack couldn't quite read. "Got anything planned today?" James asked after a beat, his voice breaking through the hum of the kettle. Jack looked down at his tea, stalling. "Might head to the gym, clear my head." His tone was casual, but there was a hesitation in his voice that gave him away. He glanced up. "What about you?" James leaned back against the bench, mug in hand, drumming his fingers on the wood like he had too much energy and nowhere to put it. "Might go to the library. I'm already behind on readings." Jack raised an eyebrow, lips twitching into a faint grin. "Already? It's only the first week." That earned a quiet laugh from James. It was soft and warm, curling into the small kitchen like a thread of sunlight. "Yeah, well, I've been a bit distracted." Jack's stomach did a strange twist. Their eyes caught for a moment, just long enough to feel something spark, and then they both looked away, like touching something too hot. Jack's fingers tightened on his mug. James set his coffee down with a muted clink. "About the other night," he hesitated, the words hanging in the air. Jack's pulse jumped. He forced his eyes to stay on his tea. "Yeah." James rubbed the back of his neck. "I don't reckon I've ever had someone step in like that for me before. It's meant a lot." Jack's jaw tightened. Something protective, something fierce rose in him. "I wasn't going to let them hurt you," he said quietly, the words sharper than he intended. The silence that followed was thick enough to feel. Jack could hear his own heartbeat, loud in his ears. James gave a small crooked smile. "You probably just see me as some awkward first year who can't stay out of trouble, but thanks." Jack's gaze finally lifted, his voice low but steady. "I don't think you're awkward." The words landed harder than either expected. James's eyes widened slightly before he looked away, colour creeping into his cheeks. Jack pretended not to notice, but the image stuck with him. They left for campus not long after, walking side by side for the first time. It felt oddly significant, like stepping into something neither had planned but both wanted. The path was scattered with fallen autumn leaves, their boots and sneakers crunching softly as they walked. The air had that crisp early morning chill that smelled faintly of damp earth and eucalyptus. The sun, still low, painted the world in pale gold. It brushed over Jack's blonde hair, making it almost glow, while James's skin caught the light in a way that made him look like he belonged in this moment. Calm, grounded, real. Neither of them spoke at first. James adjusted the strap of his backpack, eyes down, while Jack kept his hands buried in the pockets of his hoodie. They cut through a small park between the student apartments and campus. The grass was wet with dew, soaking the soles of their shoes whenever they strayed off the path. A flock of birds stirred in the trees above, their chatter carrying over the quiet. Jack glanced sideways, his voice breaking the stillness. "Do you reckon it'll always feel like this?" James looked at him, puzzled. "Feel like what?" Jack hesitated, his face warming slightly. "Like Everything's new, like we're always 2 steps behind everyone else. James let out a breath of a laugh, short but real. Pretty sure that's just uni. Their shoulders brushed as they turned a corner and neither stepped aside. The contact was light, fleeting, but it left a warmth lingering on Jack's skin long after. When they reached campus, the walkways were starting to fill with students, some yawning, some laughing with friends. Jack and James slowed at the entrance, neither quite ready to part ways. James cleared his throat. "I'll see you back home." Jack's lips curved into a smile he couldn't hold back. "Yeah, home." The word felt heavier than it should. Wednesday brought rain. The early autumn drizzle misted across the city, turning the air cool and sharp. Jack reached the flat first, hoodie soaked through, hair dripping into his eyes. He kicked off his sneakers, shaking them by the door before stepping inside. James followed moments later, brushing droplets from his jacket with a grin. "You look like a drowned rat," he teased. His eyes lingered on Jack's shirt, damp enough to cling faintly to his chest. Jack snorted. "Says you're leaving puddles on the floor." Their laughter rang out soft and easy, but beneath it something stirred. A feeling Jack couldn't quite name, something that made the space between them feel alive. That evening, they cooked together again. Jack chopped onions while James stirred a pot of curry, both of them falling into a rhythm that felt unspoken but familiar. Their elbows bumped occasionally, each touch sending a quiet ripple of awareness through them. At one point, Jack's hand brushed James's. It was fleeting, but enough to freeze them both. Jack didn't pull away, and neither did James. The windows fogged with steam, the scent of curry wrapping around them like a blanket. James caught himself watching Jack's jawline as he chewed, noticing the way his lashes dipped when he laughed. He looked down quickly, pretending to focus on his plate. After dinner, they sprawled on the couch, sharing a single blanket. A footy replay hummed on the TV, but neither paid attention. Every small movement, the brush of a knee, the shift of the blanket, felt louder than the commentary. That night, Jack lay awake, staring at the ceiling. He could hear James's quiet breathing through the wall, steady and close. He thought about the curve of James's smile, how his laugh softened when he wasn't trying to hold it back. In the next room, James lay tangled in his sheets, his thoughts looping endlessly. He replayed the moment their hands had brushed, the warmth of Jack's arm pressed to his on the couch. They both told themselves they were straight. They both wanted to believe it was just friendship, but neither could shake the tension building in the quiet darkness of their flat. Saturday came with bright skies and crisp air. Jack was rummaging through the cupboard when he turned to James. "Oi, want to come with me to Chadstone? I need some stuff for the flat." James's head snapped up from his cereal. "Yeah, sure," he said a bit too quickly. The idea of spending the day with Jack, just the two of them, made his chest feel lighter, like something was pulling him forward. They caught the bus, sliding into seats near the back. Jack nudged James whenever he spotted something out the window that made him laugh. An oddly painted shop sign, a man walking 5 dogs at once, and James found himself smiling more than he'd meant to. At Chadstone, the glass roof glittered like polished ice. They wandered through the shops, their steps falling naturally in sync. In JB Hi-Fi, Jack tried on a pair of noise-cancelling headphones, scrunching his face to the beat of the music. James leaned on the display, watching him with an absent smile he didn't even realise was there. They argued playfully over frying pans in mire, Jack swearing by a heavy cast-iron skillet, James insisting it was too much work to clean. Jack called him soft. James shoved his shoulder in mock offence. A passing couple gave them a curious glance, but neither noticed. At the food court, they shared a box of hot chips, knees brushing under the table. They talked about classes, family, and how group assignments were designed to make everyone miserable. Sometimes they fell quiet for no reason at all, just sitting there, watching the crowds pass, with that charged silence settling between them again. On the ride home, James drifted off, his head tipping against Jack's shoulder. Jack sat still, staring out the window, but the corner of his mouth curved upward, just slightly. Back at the flat, they unpacked their shopping, laughing when they realised they'd bought the same muesli bars. The place felt different now, warmer, like they'd claimed it as their own. That night, they flopped onto the couch to watch a movie, Jack's legs draped casually over James's lap. The TV flickered in the dim room, the only sound the low hum of dialogue they weren't really listening to. When the credits rolled, neither of them moved. "You awake?" Jack asked softly. James hummed. Just thinking." "About what?" James hesitated, his gaze on Jack's ankle where his hand rested lightly. He couldn't bring himself to say you, so he shrugged. "Just how different this year feels. Better, I reckon." Jack's reply was quiet, almost thoughtful. "Yeah, same." The silence stretched again, thick but not uncomfortable. Jack reached out, flicking James's fringe. "Your hair's a mess, city boy." James laughed, catching Jack's wrist for a second. His thumb brushed over the faint pulse there, lingering just long enough to make them both aware of it, before letting go. Later, Jack couldn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling, feeling every ghost of a touch, every unspoken word. Something inside him twisted with confusion, a mix of curiosity and something that felt dangerously close to longing. In the next room, James flipped restlessly in his sheets. He told himself it was just mateship, just the comfort of being close to someone in a strange city. Yet every time he closed his eyes, he saw Jack. The slope of his shoulders, the warmth of his laugh. Neither of them knew what this was, but both of them felt it. The quiet pull growing stronger with each passing day. The weekend sunlight crept softly into the flat, warming the kitchen tiles and glinting off the half-unpacked shopping bags from yesterday. Jack stirred, drifting between sleep and the memory of James dozing against his shoulder on the bus, of quiet laughter over shared chips, of that strange comfort that felt too easy for two people who'd only just met. In the next room, James was already awake, pacing lightly, as if the stillness of the morning was too much for him. Something between them had shifted, not in a way either could name, but enough that when the day began, it felt like the start of something new.